I have noticed that there is a lot of confusion regarding the differences between free modding, paid modding and the Creation Club. And now that we're going to have the Atom market added to Fallout 76, I can only imagine that the confusion is going to grow. So in this video, what I want to do is discuss the differences between those four things, at the same time as giving you my opinion on each. So what is modding? Well, mods get their name from the fact that they modify the game. But of course that is a very sort of generic description, and it's not a particularly useful one because of course everything that you download, every piece of DLC, every single patch you get from Bethesda would classify as a mod because of course those modify the game too. So a more useful definition of mod is it is something that modifies the game in a way that is not officially supported by the developer, in this case Bethesda. Now you might be thinking, but Bethesda support modding, they like modding, they provide tools to help you mod and those tools are official, surely they are officially supporting modding. Now what I actually mean by official support is they take responsibility for it. So for example, they officially support, Bethesda officially supports all of their own DLC. They guarantee that Far Harbor, Nuka World, the Vault-Tec DLC will all work with the base game and with each other, and every time they release a patch they will make sure it works with every single solitary piece of vanilla content, all of the DLC. This is not true for mods. They do not officially support them, so they can release a patch that will break all of your mods, but they will not release a patch that will break your official DLC. Essentially, if there's a problem with a mod being incompatible with a patch or another mod, it is the responsibility of you, the user, and perhaps the maker of the mod to fix it, not Bethesda. But if there's a compatibility problem with any of the official content, then it's Bethesda's job to fix it. So what is my opinion with regards to mods and the modding community? Well, basically I love mods and I love the modding community. I think they're a brilliant bunch that create some amazing content, and they have extended the life of Bethesda Game Studios games so far beyond what should have been the case that it's incredible. And I actually go so far as to say I think they are a massive advantage and boon for Bethesda itself. I believe the modding community and the mods it creates extend the life of Bethesda Game Studios games way beyond what they would otherwise be. Games like Skyrim are relevant even today, 7 years after release. And it doesn't just keep the game relevant so people are still buying it, and that is the case. I know a lot of people who didn't even notice Skyrim dropping in 2011 but spotted it in 2013 or 14 because people were still playing it, people were still making videos about it, and that was predominantly because the game was moddable. It kept being upgraded, it kept being moved up to date, and new exciting content created all the time. And so people thought, oh, you know what, I'm going to try that Skyrim out. But it also has a lot of people who've bought the game multiple times because of modding. I can tell you I get stories all the time from people who say, oh yeah, I played it on the Xbox 360 and I saw the modding community and what they were doing, and I just had to buy it for PC as well and play it there. And of course with Skyrim Special Edition, a lot of people who had played it on, say, the Xbox 360 bought the Special Edition for the Xbox One because they wanted to try the mods, and that was the sort of the primary reason that they wanted that game. And the game was still relevant, they were still seeing it all the time, and I think that is in great part down to the modding community. I know I'm patting the modding community and myself on the back a little hard here, but I actually think it's true. I see modding as a massive strength for Bethesda. Now, you will often hear mods created by the modding community described as free mods. This does tend to suggest that there is such a thing as paid mods, and that is in fact true. There once was something called paid mods. It appeared in, I believe it was 2013, on the Steam Workshop, and it was a bit of a disaster, although I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. The basic premise here is that mod makers such as myself could create a mod and upload it to the Steam Workshop and set a price. Any money earned from that mod would be split between myself, Steam and Bethesda. That never actually happened because they never actually opened it up to the general mod maker community, as they tested it with a few mods by a few mod makers and almost immediately cancelled the project due to overwhelming negative feedback. Now, a lot of the feedback was negative because people just did not like the idea of paying for mods, but there were also just a host of problems, legal and technical, when it came to selling mods that could have been created by multiple people, may not have even been created by the uploader, and the list just goes on. The short version of the story is that the community went bonkers, rightfully so, because it really was not well thought out at all, and Steam ended up pulling it. Now, my opinion on paid mods is somewhat nuanced. You see, I'm not actually against the idea of mod makers being able to make a living making mods. I can see a lot of advantages in allowing that. However, I can also see a lot of disadvantages, and the way they rolled it out, they added a whole bunch of disadvantages along with it. The problem is, I'm not sure there is a way to deal with all of the problems associated with paid modding and still allow certain mod makers, certain mod teams, the ones that make those mods that require thousands upon thousands of hours of work, and you could almost imagine a mod maker doing that full time. I'm thinking of mods like Sim Settlement, and you know, it's one thing to look at mods like that and think, you know what, there are some mod authors out there that really deserve a shot at doing this for a living, and I think a lot of people in the community would almost welcome that. They would be willing to pay certain mod makers to be doing it full time just to get the benefits of the awesome content they are making. Unfortunately, there were just so many downsides, there are so many technical problems that I actually don't see them coming up with a way to make paid modding an actual thing. However, that did not stop Bethesda from trying to once again, at a later date, find some way to monetize content that they themselves had not created. Thus appeared the Creation Club. Now, you will sometimes hear the Creation Club described as Paid Mods 2.0, and you know, I mean, there are some similarities between Paid Mods and the Creation Club, but it is not actually paid mods. The content on the Creation Club is officially supported by Bethesda. It is owned by Bethesda, it is sold by Bethesda, but in a lot of ways the content you will find there looks eerily similar to the content you will find in the modding community. The basic premise here is, unlike the paid mod system where a mod author just uploads a mod they have created, a content creator, someone who is probably an ex-mod maker, contacts Bethesda and says, hey, I have got an idea for some content, I can make it, here is my resume, would you like to pay me to do it? If Bethesda like what they see, they will negotiate and come up with a contract with the creator. They will then pay that creator to make whatever has been promised, and once the product has been made, the creator will walk away, paycheck in hand, and Bethesda will be left with the product. They own it, they have the rights to it, and they will then attempt to sell it to you, the customer. but it is officially supported. It's theirs. Nobody gets a cut of it. The person who created it does not get a percentage of the sale. They got paid for their work. It was a job. They were a third-party developer, basically. This did get around the technical and legal issues of paid modding. It did not, however, get around the community's feeling that they were getting nickel and dimed, that this was just a cash grab. What may even be worse than that is this has caused quite a lot of confusion because people tend to use the term paid mods 2.0 whenever Bethesda talk about mods and modding. Some people believe they're talking about the Creation Club when that is almost certainly not the case. Creation Club content is officially supported, therefore not mods, and indeed if you go along to the Creation Club webpage, it does clearly state that it's not paid mods, and let's face it, it is paid, therefore it's not mods. This does still cause some confusion though, because people do like to use the terminology paid mods or paid mods 2.0. A prime example of this confusion would be for Fallout 76. Todd Howard stated in an interview that modding support was hopefully going to come, not guaranteed, but hopefully going to come at a later date, sometime after release. They would look into it, but it would almost certainly only be on private servers. And quite a lot of people mistook that for the Creation Club. They said, oh, he definitely means the Creation Club. That is very, very unlikely because, again, they do not call the Creation Club mods. It is, of course, possible that he misspoke, but that is unlikely because he said they were going to look into it after release and maybe release it on private servers. I am absolutely 99.999% sure that any monetization scheme for Fallout 76 will have been looked into years before they announced it and will be implemented day one and be available on the public servers as well. I'm pretty damn sure if they've got content they can sell, they will be selling it day one. This is not something they're going to look into after release, so it makes much more sense that they were talking about modding. But that's an example of the confusion that sometimes occurs with the Creation Club. So what's my opinion of the Creation Club? Well, I do not like it. I am not a fan of it at all, and I wish it would go away. I think it was a terrible idea, it was badly implemented, and I'm really hoping they do not roll it out for Starfield or the Elder Scrolls 6. I'm not convinced they won't, but I'm sort of hoping they won't. But why don't I like it? You see, the thing is, I have different reasons for disliking it to the majority of other people, because most people seem to think the Creation Club is a threat to modding, and I don't. And there are two reasons I don't think it's a threat to modding. The first, which is the least important of the reasons, is I don't see why it would be a threat to modding. I don't see how it is a threat to modding. At this point, people usually call me very naive and say, oh dear, Gopher, you just don't see it. It's about the money. They want to make more money. So they're going to kill off free modding to force people to buy the Creation Club content. And yeah, I totally know the Creation Club is about money. I just don't see how killing off modding makes them money. Not even slightly. You see, the problem is it seems to hinge on the idea that if they prevent the next game from having mods, everyone will have to buy the Creation Club content. I mean, there's no way they can stop people using the mods for Skyrim. The mods are too prolific at this point. But the next game, they will not allow modding, and therefore everyone who wants that sort of content will engage with the Creation Club. And that is just not realistic, because most of us who really are looking forward to modding Starfield or the Elder Scrolls 6 are not looking for a couple of swords, a few pieces of armour. and maybe 1 or 2 texture mods or something. We're looking for a hell of a lot more content. The sort of content that's almost certainly not going to appear on the Creation Club. Some of us are going to have very different desires to other mod users, and the Creation Club is probably not going to cater to all different tastes. In short, I do not see people in the modding community, people like myself, looking at a new game that doesn't have mod support and thinking, oh, alright, then I'll throw money at the Creation Club. I'm much more likely to play through their game once and simply stop playing. If I can't mod it, to the next level, I'm just going to stop, probably. It depends on how good the game is. Maybe I'll play it twice through, but I can't see myself spending a huge amount of money getting a few extra swords or, a new player home. I don't see myself spending that sort of money. So it's not going to make people like me buy the Creation Club content. And the fact that the game no longer has mods is going to mean people like me stop playing it very, very quickly, which will mean that game will lose relevance very quickly and will not be selling in 6 and 7 years, at least not to the level it is now. I also believe that if there's no modding, some people are just not going to bother buying the game. Will there be 1 or 2 people who engage with the Creation Club more? Undoubtedly. I mean, there's got to be some people who say, "Oh, right, well, I want a sword that's better than these swords. Therefore, I will buy this one." But I don't think it'll be as prolific as people think. So my gut feeling is, if they try to kill off modding, not only would it not make them more money, it would negate one of the big strengths their games have and cost them money. It would cost them repeat sales. It would cost them the sort of longevity their games have, and thus the fact that those games still sell 5 and 6 years later. It would cost them their bottom line. Now, if you remember, I did say that first reason was the least important of 2. So what is the second and more important reason I do not believe they will try to kill off modding? Well, it's dead simple. If they kill off modding, they kill off the Creation Club. I'll say that again. If they kill off modding, they kill off the Creation Club. What is the Creation Club? It's a place where people who have experience making content for a Bethesda game can make it for Bethesda for them to sell it back to us. Where do they get that experience from? From making mods for the game. If the Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and it's going to be as different to Skyrim as Skyrim was to Oblivion, where are they going to get the people who know how to who make content for that game? From the modding community. That's where they're going to get them. No modding community, no pool of talent to make the content for the Creation Club. You've killed off the modding community and all the advantages you get with that, and you've not even gained a Creation Club. You've just got no one to make the stuff for you. It's done. It's over. Therefore, I don't see why they would try and kill off modding. Now, at this point, I imagine some people are beginning to write angry comments about how I'm defending the Creation Club and how I'm a sellout because I don't think they're trying to kill off modding, completely forgetting the fact that I said I don't like the Creation Club. You know, the fact that I don't necessarily see it as a threat to modding is enough for them to go off on the handle and say I'm a supporter of the Creation Club, in spite of the fact that I have stated I do not like it. I know this because it has happened multiple times. So why don't I like the Creation Club? Well, it's pretty simple as well. It's microtransactions. It's microtransactions in a single-player RPG. And I just don't see microtransactions as belonging in this sort of game. I think it has a whole heap of dangers associated with it because, as an example, are they going to be tempted to remove content and sell it back to us? That's one of the classic problems of microtransactions. When they're deciding which DLC to make, are they going to be looking at expansion pack size DLC like Far Harbor and Dragonborn and thinking, just not worth it? $25 for all that work? Why don't we just make 7 or 8 weapons and charge the same amount? Because if you look at the Creation Club content's value, like $3, $2, $3 for a weapon, and then you look at something like Far Harbor that has, 20 weapons, 30 pieces of armor, 2 power armor, skins, 20 new enemies, a bunch of quests, a bunch of dialogue, a bunch of buildings, an entire new world space, and so on. You could get the same amount of money from a customer by selling them 7 separate weapons as the entire Far Harbor DLC. Why would you invest time there? That is the danger of microtransactions in a game like this. And I just don't see as microtransactions belong in a game like this. There's something deeply wrong when you're trying to sell content for your game because you know I'm not going to be happy with the game when you've released it. And it's different with the modding community. So, for example, if you release Skyrim, and I think, Skyrim's a brilliant game. It's a brilliant game. I love this game, but I don't quite like the way the weapons look. I don't. That's just how it is. I don't like how the weapons look. They look a bit too fat and clumsy. So I go to Nexus and I download a mod that gives me a nice slender sword, right? But I'm not angry at Bethesda. They made a brilliant game. I love it. I can mod it. Yay. I get a mod for a sword I like. Now compare that to if it was the Creation Club. You sell me a game, I think it's a great game, but the weapons are not good, unless I'm willing to give you more money for a weapon that doesn't look terrible. I mean, at that point, you've sort of acknowledged that your weapons are not going to appeal to me, and that you'll sell me one that might if I put extra money up. Now look at something like Sky UI. It's one thing to play Skyrim and say, I love this game, it's brilliant, but, the user interface is not exactly to my taste. I'm going to go to Nexus and I'm going to get Sky UI. Oh, I'm going to get Immersive HUD. I'm going to install those 2 mods and it's going to make the game even better. And you're all happy about it. Now compare that to if you buy the game and you think, this is a brilliant game, but I'm not that keen on the user interface. However, they're willing to sell me another user interface that fixes those issues, that makes it look better. No, why wasn't that in the base game? I mean, it sets up a totally different dynamic. You're now selling content that you've made. So it shows that you can make it. It shows that you even understand we want it. You've got the time to make it, but only if we'll give you money. It leaves a very sour taste in my mouth. Whereas you release a game like Skyrim and it's not perfect in those little ways, but you give us the modding tools and the modding community just provide the sort of swords I like. I love you for it. I love Bethesda for that. And of course, someone might not share my taste in swords, so they might install mods that add those great big enormous swords from the Japanese manga type stuff, right? So they'll be able to get that and they'll now be happy with Skyrim. They'll think, this is brilliant. I've got a 24-foot long sword. Yay! Different dynamic when you get that from a mod. Totally different. Creation Club is microtransactions, and Skyrim, Fallout 4, those sort of games are not the sort of games I think should have microtransactions. They just don't work. It's not even the fact that it's a full-priced game with microtransactions. I just don't think a single-player RPG is the sort of game that should have microtransactions. You should just pay a price for the game and then play the game. So that's why I don't like the Creation Club. I don't see it as a threat to modding. I see it as a threat to the game itself. And finally, sticking to the subject of microtransactions, for Fallout 76 we have the Atom Market. It has a microtransaction system built into it from the start. It uses a premium currency called atoms. You can earn these atoms in game, but you will also be able to buy them at a store and then purchase items from the market. I believe all of these items are currently planned to be cosmetics, at least for public servers, which is going to be essential, I think, for this sort of game. And honestly, there's not a lot else to say about the Atom Market, except I think this is an indication that the Creation Club is not coming to Fallout 76. As I said earlier, Fallout 76 was always going to have microtransactions. They were always going to have monetization schemes that would keep bringing in money after the initial sale, and they were going to have this from day one, and they have. I just don't see why they would then add the Creation Club, which does the exact same thing. You could argue, yeah, well, the Creation Club is content from third-party developers, mod makers. Yeah, but there's no reason they can't have that sort of content on the Atom Market, is there, really? So why have two stores? Why have two premium currencies? It seems messy. It seems... I mean, to be honest with you, it seems like a bad idea because, of course, the Creation Club does come with some negative PR built in with it, whereas the Atom Market is a totally new thing. So I don't see the Creation Club appearing. Of course, maybe they will allow content that is more than cosmetic on private servers. Perhaps that's where the Creation Club could come in. But again, I don't see why they wouldn't just add it to the Atom Market. You could have stuff that was private server only stuff on the Atom Market. There's no real need to complicate things, and you could do everything you do on the Creation Club with the Atom Market. So, what's my opinion of the Atom Market? Am I as against it as I am the Creation Club for Fallout 4 and Skyrim? No. I'm not in love with microtransactions. I think there are better business models for this sort of thing, but in actual fact, my preference for business models in this area don't match most people's. I'm one of those people that doesn't mind subscriptions. So, like with Elder Scrolls Online, it made kind of sense that it was subscription based, but I'm old school. I mean, that's how EverQuest was, EverQuest 2. I believe that's how World of Warcraft was as well. So, I prefer that sort of a system. For Fallout 76, I probably would have preferred something like that. I mean, instead of, microtransactions, have a $5 a month online membership and give the player 12 months free when they buy the game, which is $60, which is in fact actually 12 times 5. So you would basically be paying per month to play the game. That's how I prefer it, but I know a lot of people hate that idea, and so microtransactions are almost certainly the next best thing. They're going to keep getting income. Oh, and the reason I say they're going to need to do that is the idea is Fallout 76 is going to get regular updates, new content. This is a live service. I know that term gets a lot of hate, but that's what this is. It's a game that's going to go on forever. They have forever. As long as possible, as long as it's making them money. They have an entire team now set aside for this game. Bethesda have been expanding this. One of their acquisitions is going to be full-time on Fallout 76, creating content all the time. Obviously, they need to bring in money, and microtransactions is how they're going to do it. As long as they're cosmetic, yeah, I'm okay with it, I think. I'm hoping they don't go the loot box route. And there is a danger there with perk decks, because of course perks come in, you unlock them and you get some perks randomly opening. That's a little loot boxy. As long as you're not buying them with the premium currency, it's not a problem. Having some sort of random drop thing in game is not a problem, unless you could buy it with outside currency. If they start doing that, that could be a problem for two reasons. One, could be seen as gambling, but 2, the perks are actually not cosmetic. So that could be an issue. As soon as they start going pay to win or pay to get advantage, they're going to have a headache. So I'm hoping they don't do that. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Free mods, paid mods, Creation Club and Atom Market. 4 different methods of getting additional content for Bethesda games. Hopefully you now understand the difference between all 4 and will be a little less confused when you hear people talk about them. So if Bethesda talk about modding, you know they're talking about mods, free mods. They may actually be talking about paid mods, but that's no longer a thing. If people like me talk about microtransactions, I may be talking about the Atom Market, but I may also be talking about the Creation Club. I realize it can be a little confusing, but there you have it. That's those things explained and my opinions on them stated. I realize this video was massively long and rambly. Those of you who watch a lot of my videos thoroughly expected that. Those of you who are new to my videos and are just now stunned to the point where you were unable to stop the video and go do something more productive, I do apologize. Yes, this is fairly normal. Okay, thank you for listening, and I will speak to you guys another time.